What's up, guys? This your boy, Aski Sangha again. I'm a little excited because it's been a while and stuff. So, we about to finally get started. We want to talk about 5 things mainstream media miss, and my bad, ignore it because they don't miss it. And we're gonna get into some stuff. I'm trying to do this weekly. I'm gonna try to do the best I can to do this weekly. Matter of fact, I will do this weekly. I'm not gonna try. I will do this weekly. So. We're about to get into JFK files, we're about to get into Antarctica, we're about to get into a whole bunch of stuff. So, let's do it, because I like doing this stuff. So, 5 things mainstream media miss. Welcome. So, this is the JFK Files. If you never heard of it, JFK Files was released, I believe, 2 weeks ago. And it specifically talks about or shows documents of JFK's plans, the CIA's plans around the time JFK was in his presidency in the 60s, and so on and so forth. So, JFK Files. In the files, it shows that he planned, or the CIA, anyone in his circle, or supposedly those people in his circle, planned to kill American citizens, specifically Cuban American citizens, in order to incite a war. And once you incite a war in America, they get money for that. They get the money in the military stocks go up. So that's how that money comes in. If you're wondering how do they get money from the war, the weapons that they sell, the Jeeps and stuff that they sell. Look at there's 4 Jeeps in Al-Qaeda. What terrorists got 4 Jeeps? The only places they make 4 Jeeps is in America. That's a fact. So whenever you see these terrorists, you can look it up. It's on the computer. It's terrorist people with 4 Jeeps. So as you can see, everyone's profiting off this. Ford, GMC, all these people profit off of war because that's the best way they can make their money, billions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? Look at Tony Stark. He's a prime example. So, CIA planned to murder American citizens on a paper on pretext for war with Cuba, described a plan under Operation Mongoose. That's what the operation was called, in order for them to plan out this attack. Yes, this attack on Cuban American citizens. It was called Operation Mongoose. We ain't talking about the scooter, we ain't talking about the bike, talking about Operation Mongoose. They do these certain operations after many weeks or many days or many months or many years of planning out how to pretty much, make us go crazy. They still do it today. So it was under the pretext called Operation Mongoose to conduct a false flag attack in Miami. Right? So Florida, Miami, Florida.
Let me give you these details. After Castro's revolution succeeded and thousands of Cubans fled to South Florida, the agency actually considered murdering a boatload of refugees, assassinating exile leaders, and planting bombs in Miami. Also, Castro could be blamed for the chaos. Now, that was based on reporting done by the Miami New Times.
To be blamed on Cuba, but actually carried out by the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. So, in actuality, was there going to be Cubans killed? Probably not. But at the end of the day, it was to incite a war in order to put fear into the American people. So y'all, supposedly American people, so y'all can feel like, oh, there's a war going on and this, and that. And so, also, they can make money off of these wars. It's no coincidence. This always happens. This is nothing new. So we got to just pay attention to the patterns of what goes on. You know what I'm saying? This is what the government does. Yeah, so they was gonna carry out this false flag attack and then blame it on Cuba. Just like they do today, you know, they carry out a false flag attack and then blame it on terrorists. And they get some bearded guy who looks Dominican and then tell you he's some Arab dude and you never seen him before. You only see him one time on television, 2 times, or 2 weeks, and then you never see him again. There's over like 10 different, they showed it. There's over like 10 different photos of Saddam Hussein. There's people who don't even know who he really looked like. You know what I'm saying? And if you really look at why they went after Saddam Hussein, he was actually a CIA agent back in '84. You can look up him shaking hands with Donald Rumsfeld. You can look up who that is, because I'm not going to get into that. He was a CIA agent. Saddam Hussein was a CIA agent, and they really went after him because he was protecting a Stargate. We're going to get into that later, Stargates and portals, Stargate SG-1 and all that. That's actually real, but that's when you get, you know, we're going to get into that later, though. So, Operation Mongoose was the operational name for the CIA's plan to kill Castro as well as innocent American people. The Pentagon at the time was on board with killing American people to wage war on Cuba. The Pentagon, the people who's supposed to be behind you, was like, yeah, okay, we could do that.
Back in the 1960s, the Gulf of Tonkin. Yeah. So there's been lie after lie, and back in the day, the Gulf of Tonkin, false flag. This was going to be literally a false flag operation. So there were dozens of conspiracies planned, some executed, some not executed. This one was not executed.
So these are all old white people, and as you know, anyway, the false flag plan was to foster attempts, quote unquote, foster attempts on lives of Cuban refugees, right? Which is Cubans who just came from Cuba and landed in Miami. In the United States, even quote unquote wounding in instances to be widely publicized. So they was gonna make it seem like these people are wounded. They was gonna make it seem like they was really put in some type of danger. So you can really believe these people is like, going through some, and so you can really believe there's a war going on when in actuality there's no war going on. They're just playing around, they're just playing chess. It's like when you outside playing cops and robbers, you know what I'm saying? But you're not the one that's actually involved in the rules of the game. Somebody else is. You know what I'm saying? Imagine the whole community playing cops and robbers, but it's being led by another person, a mastermind. You know what I'm saying? You really got kids out here shooting each other. You're gonna be wondering, well, who's really doing this? Who's making money off of this? Because the kids ain't, because they dying. It's the people, the masterminds. So these are the masterminds, right? Although it is not mainly said in the article, in the book, Anatomy of the Ultra Secret National Security. I probably floated it up somewhere in Word, so you're probably seeing it right now, so you can look up the book. It's called, again, Anatomy of the Ultra Secret National Security. It will show you, right? It will show you that sometimes they'll make exploding plastic bombs, not real ones, and they'll show it on the news, and they'll show you a bomb, and then they'll just light a little fire, and get a couple, like 20 people, and then they just sit there and do this, and they be like, all right, go. And then you got people on the other side like, yeah, and it was bad, and all I seen was, like, no. You gotta see it for what it really is, they actors. I told you, go on my Instagram page, and look at the lady who was supposedly, a part of the Texas shooting. And you'll see she's an actor. I posted it on my IG, BLACKBOOKT.V. Go make sure you go on my IG. And you'll see she was faking. Everyone was on my comment section. Everybody was on there talking about it. All my brothers, my sisters was on there. They were saying, yo, this is fraud, because we know what fraudulent looks like. We know when a white person's lying. So she was lying. It's obvious. So that's that. That's the JFK file. Make sure you look up the JFK files. There's way more than this. Trust me. It's just getting leaked. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you look this up. You're going to find things that you would not believe. I only put one thing. So imagine what else he's hiding. You know what I'm saying? So, next up. Researchers find a 2-million-year-old tree in Antarctica. Because usually when I talk about things like, vibration and how we lived in a different land around the time we was in a higher form of vibration, people seem to think like, oh, well, there wasn't in America back then. Or there wasn't black people back then. There wasn't humans back then. There was black people back then. There was humans back, but they wasn't considered humans. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, they say the chicken, for example, was a T-Rex at one time. You know what I'm saying? Is the chicken still a T-Rex? genetically, it might be, but it's just a different form of itself. It had to evolve in order to, you know, match its natural climate and match the I can't find the word that I'm looking for, but match the natural climate that it needs in order for its being to stay alive. You know what I'm saying? So just like us, we transformed into a different melanated species. You know what I'm saying? Because I already said 200,000 years ago we didn't have 5 fingers and all this. 200,000 years ago we was a different being. So we're about to get into this. So let's do it. We're gonna talk about it. The 2 million-year-old tree that was found in Antarctica. Now, if y'all don't know where the Antarctica is, it's in the southern hemisphere, the most southern hemisphere. It's very cold, very cold. They found a 2 million-year-old tree there. Now, if you're thinking in a way of a normal person, or so-called normal person, because I consider it kind of insane, but if you think like a normal person, supposedly you may be thinking, oh, this doesn't exist because oh, is it a tree in Antarctica when it's cold over there? Well, we don't know. You don't know the weather, what the weather was like 280 million years ago. But I can tell you that it was hot because if there's trees, there had to be hot enough for the trees to be grown. So I can tell you it was hot. I can tell you from research that there was higher intelligent beings that lived there. I can tell you that. So before we get into any deeper than what I'm about to tell you about this, I'm going to tell you what Gilbertson, who was the lead researcher in finding this, what he says and what he found and so on and so forth. So, as I said, Antarctica wasn't always a land of ice. Millions of years ago, it was part of a huge southern landmass called Gondwana. Look up Gondwana. You'll see what I'm talking about. Trees used to grow in the South Pole. According to Eric Gilbertson, a paleocologist, which is the study of fossil plants and animals. Make sure you look what that is. That's what he does. He studies old plants and animals, not just things that's like, oh, butterfly. No, he studies the old Triassic period stuff, you know?
Fossils in Antarctica, a finding that showed the frozen continent had a prosperous forest before the first dinosaurs roamed the Earth. During the summer of Antarctica, scientists from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee UWM in the USA they climbed the frozen slopes of the McIntyre Promontory in the Transantarctic Mountains. They combed the gray rocks of the mountain in search of fossils from the green and wooded past of the continent. People have known about fossils in Antarctica since the Robert Falcon Scott expedition of 1910-12.
So, at the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, Antarctica preserves an ecologic history of polar biomes, which is regions of the planet that is mostly covered by ice, if you don't know what a polar biome is. So that's like the North and South Pole, you know what I'm saying? So, that ranges, Antarctica preserves an ecologic history of polar biomes that ranges from about 400 million years, which is basically the entirety of plant evolution. So they're saying they found plants damn near 400 million years ago over there. That's plant evolution. They're saying that's as far as back you can go for plants. You know what I'm saying? So
in this expedition, he used the rocks around the fossilized trees to determine how the fossils fit into the geological history of Antarctica.
It's getting deep. From 14 to 400 million years ago, the southern continent was a very different and much greener place, just like I was saying earlier. It was very different, it was much greener. Just like how we was. It was much different, possibly much greener. But like I said, I'm going to get into that a whole nother time. So, the climate was also much warmer, as I said. So the South Pole was much warmer. It wasn't like how it is now. Gilbertson and his team focused on an area of 252 million years ago, which was during the Permian Triassic mass extinction, which is when the dinosaurs, you know, they supposedly a meteor hit and the dinosaurs died, which when you do your research, the meteor don't even match the time the dinosaurs died. So you gotta really do your research. These dudes is like Michael Jackson was right. Everything's a lie in the media. Make sure you research, you know what I'm saying, these books is lies. You gotta really dig deep because, you know, so make sure you look that up. Also look up the dinosaurs footprint, and they found a human's footprint right next to it. So they found out that dinosaurs and humans was actually together. Humans as in hue, prefix, hue means color, man, which is the mixture of you know, the men that, I'm not going to get into the science of that, but the human, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about, black people, was with dinosaurs at the time that the dinosaurs were here. You know what I'm saying? So, but at a higher level. So, the scientists were fossil hunting in Antarctica, fossil hunting, keyword, in Antarctica, until they found a tree that has not been dated yet, but is roughly 280 million years old due to volcanic ash from the polar shift. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when the polar shift of, volcano starts to erupt, just like what's going on now, there's a polar shift that's going on, which is good, because instead of our intelligence going down, our intelligence is actually going up. As you can see, right now, black women are actually the top graduates in America. Not white women, not Asian women, not Puerto Rican women. Black women are the top right now. So we got to understand that actually they're the top business owners in the world. Make sure you look that up too. So that's no coincidence. You know, we're starting to come back to our true selves. We're starting to come back to our natural, you know, high-end selves again. You know what I'm saying? So, again, right? It protected the tree to the cellular level. So the volcanic ash around that time protected the tree to the cellular level. Right? Gilbertson says the plants are so well preserved in the rock that some of the amino acids, which is any class of organic compounds that contains at least one amino group. What's an amino group? An example, COOH. That's an amino group. So when you combine NH, which is nitrogen and hydrogen, well, NH2, nitrogen and hydrogen 2, mixing with COOH, that's an amino acid compound. You know, if you ever heard of a compound word, just when you put catalog, you have to split it up, catalog. So it's to put those words, it's a compound word. When you put it, you know, two words that create a word, you know, or you get the idea. So it's the same thing. When you get two, elements or two chemical properties, but except the chemical property is always going to be an amino acid property, which is, in this example, COOH, right? So, they're saying it contains at least one amino acid, right, group, right? Which are the building blocks which proteins are constructed, if you don't know what amino acid is. Gilbertson specializes in geochemistry, which is the study of chemical composition of the earth and its rocks and minerals. He also says studying these chemical building blocks may clarify how these trees handle the southern latitudes, weird sunlight conditions, as well as factors that help those plants survive at that time. Which means, basically, without him saying it, he's going to figure out through these plants or through these trees what was going on, what was the time like, what was the air like, what was the air pressure like, what was going on. Because if it protected it to the cell, if you protect the human body to the cellular level, and then 280 million years later you find that, and you're able to figure out the data from that, it's like, oh, imagine finding an alien that's in volcanic ash, and then you figure out the cellular level is protected, and you're able to get information out of that. What? Time travel, here I come. Well, you know, not saying we can't do that now, but again, we'll get into that later. So, that's that. We're going to give, he actually is going back, I believe, in 2 months, Gilbertson and his team. So we're going to get back into, you know, we're going to represent this soon, you know, and see how his voyage was and what else did he find. Because he wanted to find fossils, so, you know, they didn't really say what type of fossils, if you notice. They just said fossils. It could be tree fossils, it could be dinosaur fossils, it could be human fossils. They just say fossils. So, in my mind, I'm just going to, you know, I'm going to make an assumption that I believe that the fossils that they were looking for was human fossils, black people. Because every time you look around the world, there's no white people that's 1 million years old. You know what I'm saying? They found black people that's 2 million years old, 2.8 million years old, 3 billion years old. Look it up. It's black people. Because white people's calcium isn't, the calcium in their bones don't survive long enough, so their bones turn into sand quicker than black people. That's why you still got mummies inside Africa. That's millions of years old, thousands of years old. Because you notice, how come all that? They still got the skin, they still got the braids in their hair, they still got the bone structure still intact. How is it so intact? Because black people are natural people. Our calcium don't turn into dust. That's some spooky spider stuff. Like, you know, like, ooh, It's Halloween stuff. We don't do that. We're actually, you know. So now we're gonna get something else even more freaky. Italian scientist claims he successfully performed a human head transplant. Right? And a head transplant is about to happen in China. So we're about to see how that goes. He claims that this guy actually, this isn't the first time he's done this. This isn't the first time he claimed that he have transplanted a human head or a monkey head, you're gonna see, into a body or something like that. So this guy claims that he's done it. Do I doubt him? We're gonna see. So Italian doctor Sergio Canavero claims he successfully performed a human head transplant. In a conference, we'll say about 2 Fridays ago, he claims he transplanted a head into a human corpse in China in an 18-hour surgery. Do I believe that? I don't know. Right? This proves you can reconnect nerve endings and spine. Canavero is the director of the Turin Advanced Neuromodulation Group. Make sure you look them up. I probably folded it somewhere, so make sure you look them up. All right. He says, quote unquote, the first human transplant on human cadavers has been done. A full head swap between brain dead organ donors is the next stage. Right? Meaning if somebody's dying from Alzheimer's or something like that, and they're about to have a near-death experience from that, they can get another person who probably got shot up, you know, and died from, you know, liver problems, take his brain, and something like that, you know. But what they don't realize is when you take somebody else's brain, you're also taking their consciousness too. So that's not necessarily just the brain. You know, it ain't like, you know, a lung or something, you can get someone else's lung and you just, you know, and it's you know, when you get somebody else's brain, that's another person inside of you. You got to understand, when you reconnect it to the nerves, it's a whole different consciousness, a whole different person. But they'll figure that out later.
Rejecting it. The head would be an even bigger problem, requiring even bigger doses, Kaplan added. It would probably kill you in a few years from rejection or infection.
So, some don't believe his claims due to the fact that maybe he's a snake oil salesman. Or 2016, he claimed to have transplanted a monkey head. Right? According to him. Right? And did not provide enough proof to prove it to the scientific community. That's why I don't believe him. Right? The 18-hour surgery took half as long as Canavero thought, which he have the credit to give his Chinese colleagues led by Dr. Xiaoping Ren. I'm thinking that, you know, if any Chinese people watch my show, I'm just guessing. You can look it up. I probably followed it. I think it's Xiaoping. You know what I'm saying? But yet again, Canavero did not provide enough evidence to prove what he did was factually true as far as scientific evidence. So far, the papers he has published, which are peer-reviewed journals, include only a handful about surgery. Canavero lays out his idea of head anastomosis. Make sure you look that up, anastomosis, which is when you get two kind of opposite things, but sort of similar, and you reconnect them, and then they, you know, work again pretty much. So in this case, it'll be a head and the spine, and the nerve endings of the spine and the head, nerve endings of the head or whatever, you reconnect them, you know, so a different head into a different body, reconnect those nerves, and then, you know, so that's head anastomosis, you know what I'm saying?
A successful transplant would also require the proper connection of nerves and blood vessels in the brain and spinal cord from the donor's body to the living person. And even if it did work, the human probably wouldn't regain consciousness or have a quality of life.
Subsequent procedures will be done in China since, according to Canavero, quote unquote, according to him, Americans don't understand. So we all know what that means. When he says Americans, I'm about white people. So, according to him, white people don't understand the science behind this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I want to call it madness, but there's nothing new under the sun. You know, everything that we're doing has already been done. No, I said that, by the way. But I'm just saying, nothing new under the sun. You know? But yeah, you know, it's true. And our ancestors actually said that. There's nothing new under the sun. The African ancestors actually did say that. So whatever we're doing now, the gays, the you know, homosexual dudes, the dudes wearing dresses, you got the, you know, the president, the this, the that, doing evil stuff. All this already happened. Black people has done this before. Like, we've created a government and done evil things in it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit here and be like, black people are the greatest of all time. We was, but something shook us off, you know what I'm saying? And it was us. Because before white people came out of them caves, it was us. So we made ourselves fall. And so the same thing that's going on that went on them thousands of years ago, except our kingdoms lasted dynasties, not 230 something years like America. We had more dynasties than China. That's a fact. So when you look this, you know, I can go deeper, you know what I'm saying? So when you look up this, you know, this stuff you can see, you know what I'm saying? We're also going to get back to Canaveral again, you know what I'm saying? And see if he actually proved that he could actually do this in China. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to see if Xiaoping, or whatever his name is, Dr. Ren, let's just call him that out of respect. We're going to see if Dr. Ren is actually what he says he is, and that's some fraud who's just pretending that he's helping people fix other people. So, our next news, I don't even got to look at this. Post Malone says that Justin Bieber is in a cult. Is in a cult, or in a cult.
I heard that.
Crazy, right? So, we're going to see. Is it true? You know, are these celebrities actually in a cult? Yes, I'm telling you that. Yes, yes, yes. They use every religion possible. They use Christianity. They use, because when you're in these cults, you have to recognize all gods. You know what I'm saying? And you have to pretty much bow down to all of them. You know what I'm saying? And in actuality, they take drugs. I'm gonna keep it buck with you. They take drugs. You know what I'm saying? When you hear certain songs, it makes you feel a certain way. You know, these dudes take drugs. They light candles in their studio. They talk to spirits. They actually have sex with spirits. And then they come out, and then you hear something that's, you know, all eyes on me. You're like, ooh, this booms. Where did he get the inspiration to do that? Okay? When you listen to Kendrick Lamar, listen to Kendrick Lamar, Mortal Man. At the end of To Pimp a Butterfly, he tells Tupac, I don't know where my inspiration comes from. When I rap, sometimes something happens and it just comes out of me. Same thing when I'm up here sometimes. I can be off camera, I'm just a regular dude, you know what I'm saying, who just likes to study and do his thing. But when I'm on camera, I'm live, I'm this and that. Something comes over me. Something makes me want to do that.
Alter ego?
It's not really that. It's like something, energy unlocks inside of you. Like, you know, it's like when synchronicity happens, when you know what you want to do and the universe want to help you with it. You know, it's like, you know, when your focus is there and then you're just like, the universe just helps you. Like, you're like, all right, cool, I got. Because whenever you think, the universe responds to patterns, you know what I'm saying? The trees is patterns, the grass is patterns, the patterns on the table, waves. You know, there's waves in the ocean, you got waves on your head. You know what I'm saying? The waves come from, you know, particles and waves, when particles turn into waves. So, I get deep, but yeah. Post Malone says that. So yes, all the stuff that I just said, rappers know. You know, Waka Flocka knows about this. Yeah, I know, stupid. He ain't stupid though. You know what I'm saying? They know what this stuff means. They just act like they don't know. So we're gonna get deep into this. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and then we got one more after that. So, what's Post Malone right? We're about to see. So, Post Malone says that Justin Bieber's in a cult. You know, what does that mean? Oski, that means we're not going to hear from Post Malone in a while. Is that a coincidence? You know, once I say it, you're going to be like, dang, Oski was right. I haven't heard Post Malone in the radio for about, since that last song he did with, Homeboy.
We were in London, and we went to this place called Cirque, I think. He was there randomly, and it was a weird club. It was like a weird satanic vibe, like people dancing with masks on and horns and shit.
You're going to see what I'm talking about. You're gonna see when you expose stuff like this and you're in it, and you have somewhat of a consciousness of it. They're not gonna play your stuff on the radio. You know what I'm saying? They're not. So Post Malone is accusing Justin Bieber of donating $10 million. That's 5 I put up, but you get the idea. Double that. $10 million to a cult, as the singer has been spending a great deal of his time with Christian pastor Carl Lentz. If you ever look at Carl Lentz, he looked like a homosexual.
Did you vote for Trump? I didn't vote.
Why political? Making a political stand, or
Our votes don't count. I mean, it's all really.
Man, black people too long.
Our votes. Our
White people
votes
vote count, sir.
No, our votes don't. Our votes are suggestions to the Electoral College. That's all it is. So they can vote for whoever they want.
You win the popular vote and then lose
And
the
still
Electoral
lose, right?
College.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So this whole system's fucked.
Right.
Tell me more.
So, keeping it real.
I seen him.
Yeah, you look like homosexual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a woman saying that. Black woman. Of Hillsong, New York City. Now, what and who is Hillsong? Hillsong is affiliated with Australian Christian churches, which belongs to Pentecostal tradition of Christianity. What is Pentecostal Christianity? You're going to find out right now. Which is when they get as close to God as possible. From baptism to speaking in tongues, there is also much talk of Hillsong having ties to controversial organizations. Its treatment of critics and use of its finances, right? So where they spend their money at, who they're associated with, you know, it's starting to sound like, you know, some CIA spooky, you know, stuff that they're doing. You know, its treatment of critics, which means how they treat people. This is a church we're talking about. Alright? Hillsong is criticized for its involvement with Gloria Jean's Coffees and Mercy Ministries. Now, what is that? Right? That's just other ministries that that they help out pretty much. Complaints of those ministries, Mercy and Jean's Coffees Ministries, includes residents being required to sign over their welfare payments. Right? Exorcisms. These are things people don't want. You know, they ain't saying, yeah, we want that, you know. No. Right? Exorcisms and emotionally crucial techniques. Now, when I think of that, I think of when they put people under the Monarch effect. If you don't know what that is, make sure you look that up. It's when they use electric shock. It's when they do a whole bunch of things psychologically to you in order to mess you up so bad that they can reprogram your brain into, you know, thinking what they want you to think. So that's a Monarch program. So I'm thinking they use that. So,
can you finally talk about fucking Kanye West? Yeah. Last time I had you on the phone, you were like bad Illuminati Secret Service.
I didn't say that, did I? I don't remember. That was the MK Ultra controlling my brain.
I ain't go.
There you have it. Well, Malone called Bieber an awesome, genuine friend whom he does not discuss religion with. He did discuss a lot of time and money he put into church, and that he has gotten real culty. It's a total cult, says Post Malone to Rolling Stone. That was a big mistake, Post Malone. You're stupid. Why would you talk to Rolling Stone about that? Who's like really a whole bunch of old guys who don't even like hip hop, and you're white and you're gonna tell them, you know. So anyway, Lynch states that Lynch, the dude who Justin Bieber helps, you know, pretty much gets in bed with, that the church has a different relationship with the pop star. Of course, sure they do. And claims he's never done that, and that Justin Bieber never set foot on stage. He did not say anything about being set foot on stage. He's talking about him being in a cult, so make sure we stick to the text. He said he's in a cult. He said not about him being on stage in church. So, according to Rolling Stone, a source close to Bieber says Justin has not donated $10 million to the church. We don't know who the source is, so I'm going to believe a source from Rolling Stone. Yeah, okay. So, you have that. Yes, artists, I'm going to make a whole PowerPoint on it, you know what I'm saying? Yes, artists, I'm not going to be doing this on the board, you know what I'm saying? Yes, artists are down with the cults. Yes, that's how they make their money. Because once you realize who runs the money, you got to realize who they're associated with and all that. Once you realize all this, federal meaning private, anything that's federal is private. Once you realize who owns the money, who owns these businesses, which are mostly homosexual, old white people, then you can really see how these black people or, you know, people in general have to, what they have to do in order to get up in these Hollywood, sanctions, you know what I'm saying? If you ever seen that Tom Cruise movie, Eyes Wide Shut, I just seen it. And you caught me watching it, actually. And you was like, what are you watching?
Oh, okay, that was, yeah.
On the computer, remember? Mm-hmm. And I was just sitting there looking like, you know, look up Eyes Wide Shut. And the director of that died the day before it even came out. He died. Before, why? You know what I'm saying? Why did he die before? It showed the little kid. Yeah, because it's telling you what they do in Hollywood. Willow Smith has sex with a grown man. That's a fact. Because she was with on a magazine with this dude from the UK or something like that. And it was like, why is this little girl doing a magazine shoot with a dude with a shirt off and she's doing exotic thing? Because he's having sex with him. This is what they do.
She looks miserable now, though.
And she's having sex with him. So it's like, this is what. And when you look at Eyes Wide Shut, Tom Cruise goes into a store, look at the movie. And you're going to be like, yo, I seen that movie, bro. That was crazy. Because I know black dudes, y'all don't really watch them type of. But once you see what I'm talking, you're going to be like, yo, that's crazy. There's a part when Tom Cruise goes into the store to get his outfit in order to go to these parties. When you look at the Met Gala, look up the Met Gala every year. And that's when they start eating humans and stuff. But they don't tell you that, you know what I'm saying? But at the Met Gala, they dress up. You see Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, and them, they dress up in these fancy clothes. But you never see a film of what goes on in the Met Gala. You never see a film. You never see what actually goes on in the Met Gala. There's only one film, but you never see nothing that goes on in it. And the reason why is because when I present the film, because I have it, yeah, I got it. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the film, and it's by a woman who Jay-Z looks up to right now, who she does rituals and eats body parts and talks about it. So this isn't something, she talks about it. So this is what they do. They gotta do this. This is something Lady Gaga, all of them, Oprah, all of them gotta do this. They gotta, but they keep it secret. They gotta keep it secret. If you're black and you're not doing that, you're just like Jamie Foxx and Leonardo DiCaprio on TV, like, yeah, so just call the hotline and, well, you'll get in contact with a celebrity. If you're like that, that means you're being controlled. You're a puppet. Jamie Foxx and Leonardo DiCaprio did that. So, we're about to get into our last segment, you know, of our last part of the segment of 5 Things Mainstream Media Ignored, which is NBC News. Not yet, but you know, NBC News, right? According to them, in an article, having kids is bad for Earth. NBC News says this. Procreating deemed immoral, right? So we're about to get into that. So this will be the last part. We finally did it. We finally got the white people to admit it, that they want to pretty much wipe out people on Earth.
Pro-abortion NBC claims that anyone choosing to have children is morally suspect.
In order to pretty much for their own survival. We finally got them to say. At first it was, oh, it's a conspiracy. They don't want to do that. They don't want to, you know, do drug people in order to. Now it's here. So, Agenda 21, look up Agenda 21 by the way. Agenda 21 architects in the 1990s suggested that the Earth could only sustain 600 to 800 million people. Now, the question here is, what about the other 6.5 billion people? Right? Because of 1 billion, 2 billion people in China, 5 billion. What about the other 6.5 billion on Earth? The author, Travis Ryder, or Reader, you can look him up, who published a similar topic on an article on NBC, which titles, you can look it up, Science Proves Kids Are Bad for Earth. Morality suggests we should stop having them. You can tell a white person wrote that. Making claims such how immoral it is to have children in that it's considered selfish, immoral, anti-human, as well as anti-civilization. Having a kid?
For standard environmental reasons, having a child imposes high emissions on the world, while the parents get the benefit. So like with any high-cost luxury, We should limit our indulgence, writes NBC. This could have been taken straight out of Hitler's playbook. If you kill lots of people, it could be beneficial for the planet.
Wow. According to this view, having children is a major contributor to climate change. I already did, look at my video, Global Woman Fraud, and you'll see that I explain fully, in full detail, that climate change is not done by CO2, it's done naturally by the Earth, and that other planets also is going to do climate change. So when they're saying this stuff, just look at my Global Woman video. It's on there on BLACKBOOKT.V. It's on my same channel. What mainstream science try to do, they try to put you in this box, just like Hollywood, just like the music art, the music. They try to put you in this box. That Earth is this box. They try to say that just this happens. It's just us. This the CO2. It's this. Like, nah. Interplanetary climate change just means that there's climate change happening everywhere. On Pluto, on Mars, on Venus, everywhere. It ain't just Earth. It ain't just us going through, our little stages, you know what I'm saying? Because they try to make it seem like Earth is going through a stage right now because humans are inside of it. May well be true, but that's not all the way true. Earth has always, not always been here, but it's been going through these stages for billions, maybe millions of years, maybe thousands. I believe thousands of years. So it's interplanetary. It's been happening on all planets, not just our planet. It's called Global Woman Fraud. Make sure you look it up. I explained this, so you know they're fraud as soon as you look at that. After you look at that video, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, they lying. So, according to this view, having is a major contributor to climate change, and that having fewer children will help decrease carbon footprint. So here we go again with the carbon stuff, right? Several years ago, scientists showed that having a child, especially in the world's wealthy, right, is very bad for the environment. That data was then recycled this past summer, showing that none of the activities most likely to reduce individuals' carbon footprint are widely discussed, right? Meaning that basically means that instead of actually creating a solution, because they don't really have one, they just want to find a reason to kill people.
According to a bioethicist at NBC, it is not morally acceptable to give birth to children, because children are a nuisance for the planet. Science proves kids are bad for Earth. Morality suggests we stop having them, writes NBC. A startling and honestly distressing view is beginning to receive serious consideration in both academic and popular discussions of climate change ethics. According to this view, having a child is a major contributor to climate change. The logical takeaway here is that everyone on Earth ought to consider having fewer children, writes NBC. He went on to compare having a child to releasing a murderer from prison.
So, for their survival. Humans having fewer children on Earth is being discussed and taken seriously in many circles of many different scientists, right? So, in other words, right now, this pseudo-scientist, because I call him pseudo-scientist, who's making up a whole bunch of, stuff that's saying, okay, let's kill off these people in order for our survival, because white people are dying off at a rapid rate thanks to the sun, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to get into detail, but they're a degenerate type of human, so they're dying off very quickly. So what they're trying to do now is you got the white man trying to go after a black woman now, because you got the going after the white man going after a black woman right now, just so his seed can survive, just so another form of white people can survive, aka biracials. So, is this gonna happen? Is this gonna happen? No, it's not gonna happen. So, you gotta understand that this is our fraud. This is 5 things mainstream media ignored. I'm coming back at you next week. The science of the body's coming up. Is the soul in the body? Is the body a vehicle? How did the soul get into the body? I'm about to come up with that this week. So make sure you stay tuned. This is 5 things mainstream media ignored, and I'll be back.